Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we are officially out of Mercury in retrograde in the sign of Taurus. I'm so excited because this retrograde has been really, really hard, not only for me, but for a lot of other people. We're going to talk about all the details. So Mercury went into retrograde April 7th. It turned and went full retrograde from April 21st through May 14th. And then from May 14th, and that's what we're talking about, is we're in that zone right now, May 14th through May 31st. It is kind of in that post-shadow energy, so it's getting lighter and lighter and lighter. So it's not nearly as strong, and it's going to keep getting lighter and kind of getting back to normal. But kind of what's going back to normal? So maybe not as many travel delays. I've heard of so many people over the last few weeks dealing with like tons of traffic, computer issues. I've had them myself. Programs that are supposed to talk to each other don't like each other anymore. So that's going to be changing. It's one of the big issues that I will tell you that I've heard from most people, and some of that is the economy, and so that's not going to fix itself. But I guarantee Mercury in retrograde, I had a client come and just like literally in tears, like her debit card wouldn't work. She couldn't get money out of the bank. And I was like, that all sounds like Mercury in retrograde. She was just like, what? Yes. Computer issues, computer glitches, problems with things. And then of course, money. She couldn't get any cash out. So that's kind of the weird, funny, quirky part about Mercury in retrograde in the sign of Taurus, is it's going to affect our money. And although hers was a slight delay, it wasn't a huge delay. I've heard of people transferring money around that normally would take a few moments to get around. It's not. Bounce checks, bounce money, all kinds of stuff. It's one of those, make sure that it's there before you slide your card. It's like zip, zip, zip. Yeah, let's do that. One of the things is that it's going to give us a great new insight. Mercury in retrograde always gives us an amazing insight into all things. What have we learned over the last few weeks since it went into pre-shadow on April 7th? Like till now, what have we learned? A lot of times it's like the material things are not as important as we thought. Some of it is just kind of take our time. We've had this instant cash, like I'll zip money to you, or I'll do this with you, or whatever else. And a lot of times it brings in this, like there's no, like we can't wait, we have to have it right now kind of attitude. Like I found the best pillow in the world and I have to get it now, or I can't wait for something. So a lot of times, like, we used to wait days. It's one of those, like we used to wait weeks to get things that we wanted or save up and everything else. So it's kind of like that going back a little bit of like things that would normally be instant are now taking more time. And this can really kick us off in some amazing areas of like, do we really require it? Because a lot of times I've heard from other people like, I was trying to buy this, whatever it was, sofa, bed, couch, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what the item is. Whatever it is, you're wanting that right now. And because the money didn't flow, or they didn't get approved for that loan in time, or whatever else, and it took 3 hours instead of 20 minutes like it should, they didn't get it. And a lot of times they were kind of like, we found a better sofa somewhere else, or we found something that we really, really wanted somewhere else, and I'm glad I didn't spend the money. So it's kind of one of those kind of interesting things of what is making the changes. A lot of times just slowing down with your money, it's one of those kind of like, are those material items that we're really looking at because it's the cutest little thing right in front of us that we have to have? Maybe it's not so important. Maybe it's not so, oh my gosh, I have to have it right now, that instant gratification, like, oh my gosh, I have to have it. And that's just one of those kind of energies that can really support us, even though at the time we're kind of like, no, I want it. That's kind of the interesting part. I will tell you, it also has brought up a lot of kind of like interesting energy with relationships as well. And that comes in a lot of our kind of like our rethinking about Mercury in retrograde. Kind of during this time frame, a lot of things that brings up rethinking and reevaluating and those sort of things. And when we do that, it can be really amazing of like, wow, I had no idea I could do this, or I could change this, or I could re-affect our relationship this way. Or sometimes it's just the rethinking and like re-listening to things that we should have been listening to before, but we really didn't understand it or didn't want to deal with it. So that's kind of the fun parts that have come out of Mercury in retrograde. I know it can be aggravating. I've dealt with it as well. But a lot of times that can be the really fun part of this. The really like, oh my gosh, how is this going to work? How are we going to deal with this? This can be a great way of like, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can deal with all of these things. That can be so much of the fun part, so much of the, oh my gosh, how do you do this? How do you deal with this? That can be the, oh my gosh, fun part of what's going on, and dealing with this in a much different way, and allowing this amazing tiny little planet to bring in amazing changes for us, upgrades for us, and really understanding like what's important to deal with our money. How is it important to deal with all of this? This can be a great way and some great updates. Sorry. Let's do some angel cards and get us a little bit more insight as we're still dealing with Mercury in retrograde, but in post-shadow energy, which is much lighter. This one is literally sticking out. So it's 2. So let's pull those 2 out. Let's see. The first one is new love. And I get this is because a lot of times when we're looking at items, we want that new love. Like, oh my gosh, this is the best whatever right now. I have to have this sofa or bed or shirt or pants or whatever it is. And a lot of times we realize it really wasn't our true love. It was just one of those, it was right there, and we wanted that instant gratification of like, yes, I can have it. I have plenty of money to deal with that. And then we start having financial issues, and it's like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. The next card is music. Music can really calm us down. And a lot of times when people are kind of dealing with Mercury in retrograde, a lot of times I'll tell them, play music, relax your energy. Anything that you fight has to kind of bring up that energy in you to really fight this a little bit differently, or fight a little bit harder when it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be that super hard, like fight. Because a lot of times in Mercury in retrograde, when we really do fight things, it fights back. It kind of bites back in some really crazy ways. And a lot of times to kind of take the time, like, okay, since my computer's not working, I'm going to take a walk around the block. Since this isn't working right now, I'm going to go get me a snack, and kind of deal with this in a much easier, much more easy, relaxing way, can bring in some amazing energy for us. The next card is our guardian angel. Our guardian angels want us to know, it's one of those, we have been in such a money society for so long, like instant. And I guarantee you for years, people are like, can I send this over to you with this app or that app or whatever else? And I'm just like, no, I'll send you an invoice. And they're like, you know, you don't want instant gratification. Who doesn't want their money being paid right away? But my thing is, though, is that it can also bring up some things for you of like, it doesn't have to be paid right now, or maybe I need to take some time and reevaluate this purchase. Sometimes it's, especially if it's a large purchase, sometimes sleeping on it can be a great way of kind of like just relaxing. Do I really require this item? Do I really require this item in my life? And if the answer is yes, that's great. But a lot of times when we start thinking about it, we're like, well, you know, I could check another store, or I could do this, or, you know, holidays coming up, they're probably going to have it on sale. And just changing your momentum with your money can be amazing. Blessings. A lot of times Mercury in retrograde, people go, it's just horrible. It messed up this, it messed up that. My timing was off, my schedule was off. Yeah, it can, but a lot of times it is a blessing in disguise, and it can be a humongous, amazing blessing, because we didn't waste our money. We didn't spend our money on things that weren't important. We didn't do anything else. We didn't change anything. We kind of just left the status quo and kind of just like allowed it to relax, allowed it to get a little bit easier. My last card is healing, and healing can come in our thinking. Healing can come in so many amazing ways during Mercury retrograde as we rethink, reevaluate, changing. And a lot of times what I have found kind of with that healing card is over the last couple of weeks, I've heard a lot of clients of mine telling me, I've had the same physician for a long time, or he's retired, or I changed physicians or different places that I go to for general therapy or whatever else, and they're making changes because I kind of realized like I don't really like their attitude, or I really don't like this about them, or whatever it is, and that has brought them into a new healed state. Just changing doctors sometimes, it's kind of like I've been in the status quo and this is the way it's always been, and I've always done it this way, and I realized like this new company or this new doctor I don't like near as much, so I'm going to go find another one that can bring in healing, because you're bringing actually like who's going to connect with my energy easier, who's going to connect with who I want to be and how I want to heal myself in so many different ways. It can bring up amazing energy for us. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.